What is up, guys? It is the Sportster Bradley Walker, and welcome to the Walker Report, part of NGSC Sports. Guys, remember the website. It's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. We are also part of Snowman Multimedia Sports, Game Winner Sports Network, and Mancini Media. Guys, also, too, if you're not well aware of this, tonight's show is live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. All three sites it is live on as we speak. So, yes, we are live on all three platforms. We will be having on Nuts and Bolts Sports senior NFL draft analyst Jeff Barnes. Actually, Jeff is in the green room as we speak. He'll be coming on to talk to us about the NFL draft, which is next week, and that's the big show, guys. Next week is the draft show, where we just basically fool around and watch the first round of the NFL draft. So, should be fun. We have sponsors. The first sponsor is CreatingZenSpaces.com. It is the local choice in St. Petersburg, Florida, for house cleaning, organization, decluttering, and pet sitting. It's about finding the peace within you, adding comfort to your life. And guys, remember, Zen Spaces begins with you. Be kind to yourself and one another. We are also sponsored by Garrett's Carrots. Illuminate your inner self, shatter the trendy norm, and open up your world to a newfound level of confidence and admiration. Garrett's Carrots, designer jewelry and luxury accessories at Garrett'sCarrots.com. We are also sponsored by Funwags.com. It is a dog treat company that is in local as well. How it was all started was the mascot Zoe was given treats at a local fair. She got sick, and Funwags is a pet treat company and is also birthday items for dogs and cats. We cater to dogs, cats, rabbits, and rodents. Most of our treats are universal between dogs and cats. We also have a low-calorie vegetable treats for pets that need a special diet. Again, the majority of the ingredients listed are 3 to 5 items, ingredients you can pronounce. And remember, guys, Funwags is made with love and care for all our fur babies because they deserve the best. All right, guys, welcome in. Happy Thursday to you guys out there. Like I said, this is kind of cool. I have a guest on, and we're going to be on 3 different social media platforms, so that's pretty cool. Real quick, before I bring Jeff on, let me bring in my 3 awesome co-hosts. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. There we go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How's it going?
It's going.
It's all right.
Happy to hear that. All right, guys. Let me again. We're going to bring on now Nuts and Bolts Sports senior NFL draft analyst Jeff Barnes. Mr. Barnes, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Barnes.
Anytime.
I got to meet Jeff at a USF game last year. So that's how we got to know each other. And being that the NFL draft is next week, I figured, what the heck, we could bring him on and have us talk a little draft stuff before the draft next week.
Why not?
Absolutely.
There we go. Well, I hit the wrong button. I was trying to turn down the audio.
I've had that problem too.
The joys of doing live.
And guys, real quick, if bad things can't happen to me, last week the show didn't record. This week my air conditioning is broken in my apartment. So I'm batting 1 in 1,000. So yeah.
At least it'll be a cool evening.
Yes.
I think I might open my windows.
Yeah.
Seriously, I don't like to open windows, but I might do it because there's a breeze outside.
Okay. Florida? Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's unusual for Florida this time of year down that way.
Yeah, it's been warm during the day and cool in the evening. So
Yeah, same here.
Yep. All right. So Jeff, tell us what you do and how you guys grade players and stuff like that.
Well, basically, I do exactly what the NFL scouts do. The good thing is I don't have a GM to report to. I get to share my information with anybody and everybody, whether it's just on the media side, sharing it with fans, sharing it with other scouts that I know, with other organizations, other teams, other leagues. So I am not bound by a team or league to not share information. That's the beauty of it all. So I still go on the road like you got me on the road, scouting players, draft, trying to get my information for this draft class together. So when it comes down to it, when we're producing our content for Team MBS Media, formerly Nuts and Bolts Sport, we're putting out accurate information that people can absorb.
So are you an independent contractor then?
Yes. So I'm basically what you would have with NFL Network guys with less money.
Okay.
Yeah, but you don't have to get up early to go into the studio.
At least he's honest. You see, at least he's honest when he said that. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. Those guys are paid handsomely.
Go to the stadium and fight everybody.
Yes, those guys are paid handsomely to go and do the things that they do. I'm not paid as much, but I enjoy doing it just as much.
So an NFL scout with a day job.
Pretty much.
Okay, Mr. Barnes, I have a question for you there, sir.
Fire away.
Myself, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Huge Dallas Cowboy fan.
So am I.
Who do you think they should? Who do you think they should take in the draft, and what position?
They can go several different ways at 26. I've been mocking at 26 linebacker. Believe it or not, the way I believe the board is going to fall, I think they're going to land a linebacker. I believe it's going to be Jack Campbell from Iowa. We talk about Leighton Vander Esch got a palatable deal. We know that they've had issues opposite him. They're moving Micah Parsons around the formation. So, yes, we saw Damone Clark come on last year, end of the year, struggled to get it as a rookie. I think he's going to get better. But you need consistent depth at linebacker with Vander Esch's injury history, with his, short-term contract, with Clark still ascending, with Cox hasn't really taken that next step. I think this is where if they get Jack Campbell, he's the highest player on the board, he goes to Dallas. Also, everybody wants to see Bijan Robinson there. It's a good pick if he's the highest player on the board for him there. It's also a need. You can't just have Tony Pollard leading the way alone, and a lot of unproven guys behind him. So there's a lot of different ways they can go. Also, tight end, where we talk about Dalton Schultz, signed elsewhere. They have the young tight ends from last year, but would you not like Michael Mayer? Would you not like a Dalton Kincaid to fit in that offense, or Luke Musgrave? Any one of those big athletic tight ends. Yeah. So there's many different directions they can go at 26. The beauty of this draft class is you're going to find value at almost every round.
Yeah, I don't think that there's outside of quarterback, which I think is top heavy. I think every other position is really, really strong throughout.
Absolutely. And when you talk about everybody's, saying how weak the wide receiver class is, it doesn't have a lot of number one receivers, but there are a lot of Robins. Not a lot of Batmans, but there's a lot of Robins in this class at wide receiver. So you can get a lot of good talent at wide receiver, whether you're in the first round, second, third, or even fourth, fifth, or sixth rounds. There are going to be guys that fall down in this draft that they pick up later on at that position alone that are going to find ways to produce, and they're going to go, where this guy come from? He was a fifth-round pick. He was a sixth-round pick. Well, they're talented players. A lot of these guys are still developing. Some of these guys have a lot of traits that you like. They're finding ways to get these young men involved. Spread offenses that they're playing in college. They're coming in not with a fully developed route tree, but they have things that you can utilize at the next level that they're doing now, that you could immediately plug and play these guys, unlike in the past where they had to learn the route tree and the coverage and the route adjustments and all that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say outside the top 10, when you're picking outside any pick after 10 in the first round is you're picking for value. So anything in the second or third or fourth round, if you get value for it, that's a home run pick in my mind.
Absolutely. Well, even in the top 10, there are going to be teams that pick in the top 10 who are going to have a need, and the value may not be there for that need. So you're going to look at the best player available on your board and say, does he fit can he add something to our team? And now if it's a quarterback and you don't need a quarterback, obviously the answer is no, but there'll be other positions available in that top 10 where teams are going to look at it and say, well, he may not be the best player on our board, but he comes in and he can immediately contribute and help build up the position where we may be pretty solid at, but we can be very good at.
Well, just as a, from a GM and ownership standpoint is, and from looking at it from how your fans are going to react. If you take a player in the top 10 that isn't a home run, you're going to get clowned for the next 30 years. That's the guys that picked Michael, let Michael Jordan slip to 3.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the first 10 picks, you've really got to get the right guy. Where I agree, there's value to be had in the top 10 picks, and but how much? Where is it? Where is the value? Is it, and how much is it you're reaching?
You tend to reach when you need a player. Say if you're a team I need a quarterback, and I'm looking at and I'm at 8 or 9 in the top 10. You can take any one of the quarterbacks after Stroud and Young. You can say, okay, we need Levis, we need Richardson, but those guys are really reaches in that range when you look at their ability, because none of those guys that come in at that position. If you take Hendon Hooker, realistically, Hendon Hooker's 2 years away from being a starter because he's got to heal first. So he's going to spend most of the season on IR. Okay, and by the time he comes back, he hasn't played football in basically a year because of the injury. Plus, developmentally, he was still developing in a pro-style passing game. So he's got really 2 years before he can really come in and start for you. Richardson is at least 1 year away from starting for you, and he's got a long learning curve. Will Levis, while you see he has a lot of ability, he has a lot of stuff, but the problem with Will Levis is there's not a high ceiling on Will Levis. I know a lot of people are higher on him than I am. He's number 5 quarterback on my board. But with Will Levis, I think drafting him high is setting him up to fail.
Well, especially – go ahead, Lee.
Because that does happen. You draft them so high, and then, they're trying to be a letdown. They don't perform as well as, everybody thinks they're going to. So sometimes drafting high isn't necessarily a good thing. I've seen it happen before. We know it's going to happen again. So.
Yeah, most teams in that situation that are high are there for a reason. They're not very good teams. If you're sending a player that's not ready to start right away to a team that's struggling and still trying to build, they're going to have their struggles. And if you're not patient and you're not building it right, it's only setting them up to fail. So I think when you look at certain quarterbacks, we saw that with Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. Right? We saw it with Justin Fields before they finally made a move at the GM and head coaching position. So I think what you're looking at is certain teams are finally figuring out, if we're going to take our guy, we got to take our guy. That's one reason why people are questioning Houston taking a quarterback. Do they really feel they have their guy? I don't think they can afford to wait. Yeah, I don't think they could afford to wait. They need to take a guy this year because they can't. They may not draft a quarterback next year. They may be further back in the top 10 where you won't get to those top 2 guys. You have to spend a lot of picks to get in range to get to those guys. So if you're in a position to take a quarterback and you believe that he's a game changer, he's a guy that could be the face of your franchise, you take him, especially if you're at number 2. So that'll be the mistake by the Texans if they don't go quarterback.
Yeah.
And without a strong subsequent position to take, like Bijan Robinson is a great running back, but he doesn't address. It's not like taking. It's not. There's not a number 1 wide receiver. There's not a number 1, defensive end or linebacker that you can argue about. Maybe Will Anderson. You could argue, Will Anderson. He's a safety. The safety out of Alabama. You might be able to argue that maybe they should go that route and wait. But who's coming out in 2024, 2025 that is going to be that future, that generational talent? And are they going to be better than Young or Stroud?
Yeah. Other than Caleb Williams, you're questioning who else is coming out next year. So does Caleb Williams come out? The money may bring him out, But if he doesn't feel he needs to leave, he won't. We've seen that with quarterbacks already. And after that, we have a lot of questions about who's going to be the next, first-round quarterback next year, because we're still trying to sort that class out. A lot of people a couple of years ago thought it would have been Spencer Rattler. He hasn't been that guy. There's a lot of questions about a lot of the guys still in college. Quinn Ewers, is he ever going to ascend to that level that a lot of people wanted to anoint him when he first went to Ohio State? So there's a lot of guys in college right now that are still proving themselves and showing that they could potentially be a franchise quarterback at the next level. The only one that anybody has any certainty about right now is Caleb Williams.
But the thing about Caleb Williams is we got to wait and see down next year, because this year may have been a flash in the pan.
Well, they're going off of his half a season at Oklahoma. They're going at his full season at USC, and they're hoping that he continues to play that way this year. And that'll give him the 3 years in college where he can come out early, or if he decides to come back for another year, I think he's going to come out after 3 years. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about Caleb Williams possibly as your top quarterback next year. The question is, who's going to be there with him?
And the thing about it is that is he better than C.J. Stroud this year?
Had he come out this year, that would have been the thing that you look at, because there's still not a lot of body of work. We're talking about a season and a half for Caleb Williams, a little bit more for C.J. Stroud, who's ascended quite a bit from when he first took over at Ohio State when Justin Fields left. When he was that first year as a starter, him, he had a lot of good things, but there was a lot of shaky moments for him. The Oregon game exposed a lot of weaknesses in his game that first year. Much improved player this year. I think his coming out party was the playoff game versus Georgia, where, because Jackson Smith and Jigba is already out, he didn't even suit up. We know Marvin Harrison gets hurt in the middle of the game, and he's still moving the football consistently against Georgia, finds a way to get him in position to win the game. Unfortunately, kicker doesn't hit the kick.
No.
Now, who do you think is going to be the first player taken in the first round?
Man, for the past couple of weeks, I could have sworn it had been C.J. Stroud, but you're starting to hear from people that you can actually kind of trust their word a little bit, that you're hearing a lot more about Bryce Young going to Carolina. So to me, it's a 50-50 shot, but I'm starting to lean a little more towards Bryce Young now. I really am. From where I'm hearing it come from, I believe that he may have turned a couple of more heads in that room.
Now, I'm a Jet fan. What do you see with who the Jets taking at what position?
Well, the question is, will they have a first-round pick by the time we get the draft night if they close this Aaron Rodgers deal? That's going to be the big question.
Well, all I can do is, if they were going to take Rodgers, this would have happened already. This is dragging on to the mud. This is just like nothing but a bad soap opera. So I think he's not coming at all. Forget it. It would have been done already.
Well, they kind of painted themselves into a corner. They have to make it happen. The question is, do they give up the one or not? I don't think Green Bay is going to give them up without the one. So I think 13 is eventually going to have to go to Green Bay. But if they don't, make that move, I think right now you got to look at it. They still like Mekhi Becton. I don't think they have a lot of faith in Mekhi Becton.
No.
They signed a veteran last year to get through the year, but if there's a tackle there that they really like, and there'll be plenty. Okay, we know about Scarani, we know about Paris Johnson, but there are plenty of tackles in this class. If there's one that they really like at 13 and they dress it, and it doesn't allow them it doesn't make them reliant on Mekhi Becton, don't be surprised if they go there. Or just you got to have a coach that loves pass rush. He will definitely add more pass rush to his team as well. So that's a whole nother story too.
Okay.
What about this idea? What if Richardson's is still available? Let's say they can't get the deal done for Rodgers. If Richardson's still available at 13, do they reach for him?
I'll take him.
Do they have desperate?
I don't know if they take Richardson, because you already have a question mark with the last first-round quarterback that you have. Is he going to be able to win the locker room over, right? So bringing in Richardson, who's not ready, isn't really going to help him. So I don't know if they make the move for a quarterback in the draft, because, plain and simple, they're going to have to bring in a veteran that's going to come in and compete if they don't get this Rodgers deal done. I believe they've kind of painted themselves in a corner. Almost every quarterback that they could bring in to be the bridge to their next quarterback, not named Aaron Rodgers, they've let get off the market. So at this point, they haven't left themselves with a lot of options at quarterback other than to kind of do the deal with the devil with Green Bay.
Jeff, I have a question about two
Hey,
teams. What's Jason Light's idea with the Bucs, and what's Bill Belichick's craziness in New England?
Well, let's start with Tampa Bay, especially because you're in the area. Don't be surprised if he trades out of 19.
I've heard that. I've heard that. I've heard that a bunch.
Jason Light
Yeah.
is known to fall back and accrue a lot of picks. When you're talking about a team that's kind of in that very narrow corridor, salary cap wise, adding picks, adding younger, cheaper talent makes sense because then you don't have to spend it on veterans that you have to keep losing and replacing. Bring in the younger talent. I think there's going to be plenty of tackles for him. You don't have a left tackle right now unless you're moving your right tackle over the left tackle, and then you got to fill the right tackle void.
Mhm.
So tackle is definitely a need. There'll be plenty of them in the teens, so they have plenty of opportunities to fill that there if he stays. Don't be surprised, though, if he trades back. Even if it's just into the 20s, he can still find a tackle in the 20s. I'm telling you right now, if you're Ohio State, if you're not a fan of Ohio State's two tackles, you should be, because Paris Johnson was good. Don't get me wrong. More of a finesse tackle than he is a power tackle. The guy on the opposite side of him, DeJuan Jones, is massive. He is basically Orlando Brown Jr. with better feet. He's more athletic, right? Just as strong, just as big, and he moves a lot better. And like I said, at Senior Bowl, I watched him erase Isaiah Foskey on a pass rush.
And what's Belichick's thoughts in New England? Would they trade back? Or I mean, I've been hearing that they want to trade Mac Jones. There's been rumors about that floating around too.
With Belichick, I wouldn't be surprised if he trades back. He's another one that likes to accrue a lot of picks. He doesn't put a ton of value on day one picks, especially because he's so used to drafting in the back and around. I believe they're in the 20s as well. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so yeah, he doesn't have any extra incentive to stay where he's at unless there's somebody he really wants. Last year was Cole Strange. He really wanted him. But otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick trades back. This tends to be what he normally does. He tends to trade back, add extra picks, move around in the second and third rounds, and get the guys he really likes.
Okay.
The most frustrating thing for me is the fact that we don't get to interview these guys. We don't get to sit down with and go through the process. And I think that's one thing that, where we sit there and we scratch our heads and we go, why did they make that pick? And I think that's the hardest thing is we don't get to sit down with the players and have do the one-on-one interviews with, 1,300 guys and then narrow it down to the, 10 or 15 that we're looking at.
It's a hard process to get player interviews. We do it, and it's very hard to do. Sometimes when you're not a big media outlet, the agents just don't want to work with you. Sometimes they're just too busy, especially the top guys.
Right.
They were really hard to get. Every once in a while, you do get a chance to work with some of the guys. We've had a bunch of great guys on the show. Another excellent young man from UCF last night. Kobe Perry came on our show last night. So we got a chance to talk to some of these guys. The best thing is getting them on the road. You get to an all-star game, get a chance to talk to a guy. Catching them on the road is way better than getting them on the air because most agents want to kind of dress the questions up. Send me what you're going to ask them, and we want to be able to prepare. But you catch them out there to sit there and talk football with them, it's a totally different thing. And you get a better feel for the player when you're in more of a personal setting.
Yeah, more to my point was that the teams, they get to interview all the players. All the GMs get to sit down with the players and have those one-on-one interviews, and they get to, and then we're like, oh, why did they, like Cole Strange for want of an example last year. Everybody was like, well, why did New England take him? And it's like, because that's who they wanted. They did the interview process with all the other, you play center, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But they sat down with all the other players and whatever Strange said or whatever they saw on tape, that was the player that they ended up liking. And so then, we're sat here going, well, that makes no sense. And I think that the biggest thing is that they actually get to do those interviews and have those one-on-one times with those players and get to talk to them and get to know them and feel whatever they feel.
It depends on your evaluators. I mean, everybody gets this. One thing with the NFL, everybody gets the same amount of time with the players. You get to select your 30 visits. If you go to the All-Star games, they all have booths set up for all the players to come through. They request certain guys, so they get to talk to them a little bit there. A little more of a speed dating type deal. You get a few minutes with them, and then they got to move on. But they get a chance to talk with players a little during that process. You really can't talk to them when they're in college, but you got to do your due diligence by talking to everybody else around them.
Yes,
but it's a different process when you get to the draft process. They do a good job of regulating it, so nobody has the upper hand. But it depends on the teams, their feel for the player. And it goes from what they fit, what they do, whether they believe they can succeed in that organization, or character. So whatever factors they have for that player, and sometimes we agree with it, sometimes we don't. I can tell you, I still rip. We got a couple of Cowboy fans on here. I'll tell you, I ripped them a new one live on the air when they drafted Taco Charlton. And TJ Watt was on the board. And I ripped them. I said, how do you not have TJ Watt over Taco Charlton on your draft board? There's no way. So eventually down the road, those guys, Will McClay and those guys did get a chance to come on and address that draft. And their reasoning was that Taco Charlton played with his hand down more than TJ Watt did in college. And it really shook me because several years before, they were all in on drafting Anthony Barr, who, just like TJ Watt, did not play a lot with his hand down at UCLA. And it was just the fact that Minnesota took Barr before they could get him, that they wound up getting, of course, Zach Martin in that draft. But you were going to draft a guy who didn't play with his hand down to be a right defensive end. Then you have a chance to get a guy who's definitely a well, besides the fact that he's the younger brother of the defensive player of the year, he's shown you that he has that kind of talent to be a Pro Bowl player at defensive end. You pass on him for a guy who had a solid college career, not great. And the results are what they are. One is a all-pro, the other one is a journeyman.
Okay, now you were talking about the draft back then. What was your take on Dallas picking up Prescott when they did? Do you think that was a good move, or do you think they should?
When they drafted him in the fourth?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Dak Prescott should have gone way before the fourth in that draft. There were just too many guys that went ahead of him that were not better quarterbacks. Cody Kessler, Connor Cook. We can name a bunch of them. There were a lot of guys that went in that draft ahead of Dak Prescott. Part of what hurt Dak Prescott in that process was, if you remember, after Senior Bowl, a few weeks after, he got arrested for DUI. And that kind of, when that happens during the process, it does hurt you. Just as we saw with Stetson Bennett, despite the fact he had a decent combine. Senior Bowl, right at the beginning of Senior Bowl week, he gets picked up for public drunkenness. So instead of being at the Senior Bowl, he turned on. He gets not a good look for you in the draft process. Those things kind of come in and they play into the character. Dak Prescott had a clean character all the way up until that. So it was something that you could have looked at and said, listen, it was an immature decision. It's not a total knock on his character. Some teams said, look at that, looked at the style of play, look at Mississippi State. Although he played on a very mediocre Mississippi State team, he had him ranked in the number one in the nation for a while. So it was the quarterback who was a special player that was in a very mediocre situation. And they chose to take mediocre players over a special player. He's turned out to be a pretty good player. So he hasn't had the team success that a lot of people would hope, but he's turned out to be a very good player.
I have an odd question, Jeff. Is there anybody out there that would dare take a kicker in the first round?
I haven't met him yet.
Hey, Jason Light did that in round 2. Remember, he took Aguayo. He took Aguayo. So
I
at
think he
Florida
learned his
State.
lesson.
Yeah.
I think he learned his lesson. There aren't too many great guys out there.
Yeah, I would say the last kicker taken the first round was Sebastian Janikowski in 98.
Yeah, well,
That long ago. Wow.
Yeah, Janikowski back then was special. You didn't have a kicker that was kicking like that, and he was also a guy that liked to drink a lot of beer and kick the ball. But you didn't have a lot of kickers that kicked the way Janikowski did. But and he had a pretty good career. Just unfortunately, he wasn't on the team that had a lot of success.
The first couple of years he was there, they had a lot of success, but that success tapered off.
Yeah. Well, you look at the Vanderjacks and God, what was the kicker from New England's name again?
Vinatieri
and all of those guys that are going into conference championships and Super Bowls and making big kicks. He just wasn't getting any of that love. So he may have got some winning seasons and maybe a couple of playoff appearances, but he wasn't getting any of that love. Go ahead.
Now, what do you see Zeke going since Dallas cut him? What do you see him going?
I don't know. Honestly, the hard part with Zeke is that you haven't had consistent production from him in the last 2 years. Now, he's had injuries. We saw how last year he started off very well. And then, of course, he had the knee injury that he missed a game last year, and he wasn't exactly as productive as he was before that. And the year before it was a torn PCL where he just couldn't break anything. He was literally a 3-yard carry player. The offensive line is still being reworked on. Unlike when he got there, it was a fine-tuned, well-oiled machine, and he was able to get a lot of holes. He was able to run for a lot of yards, break a lot of tackles. He was able to do a lot more. He's an aging back. He's got tread. He's still got some tread on the tires, but nobody's willing to pay a lot of money for him. So he's going to sit on the market for a while before somebody get him to swallow a really cheap deal.
Or somebody gets desperate.
And you tend not to get desperate until well after the draft, well after free agency, when you're in training camp and everybody's got every running back they could think of on their roster. Then all of a sudden he'll start to get his name called. But
yeah,
he's just got to be patient and stay in shape. Somebody will call him. Listen, he's still talented. He's just not the Zeke Elliott that came out of Ohio State anymore.
No.
It's funny. 1,000-yard back doesn't get you anything in this league anymore.
Yeah, and now that we play 17 games, 1,000 yards seems less and less significant. And because they keep adding on games, and it's going to make 2,000 yards less significant after a while. You're going to start getting more and more 2,000-yard rushers, and people are going to go, well, it's a 17-game season. It was not special like when guys did it in 14-game seasons.
And then it's funny. It's funny you say that because they said that when they went from 12 to 14. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not special because they're playing 14 games. I remember growing up, and they would be like, "Well, he did it. So and so did it in 14 games, and now they play 16-game season, so it's not that special." And it's like, he still ran for 2,000 yards. I mean, I don't see any y'all run. It's the guy on the couch with it, cracking his third beer, eating his fourth bowl of Cheetos that's going, that ain't significant.
It's hard to run for 2 yards in the NFL. There's a lot of people that think they can come off the couch and do it. It's hard to do it. Those are the best players in the world. And I've had opportunities to play against NFL players. They made me look very average. I can tell you that right now.
Right.
And those guys, they have no concept of losing.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what we're playing. We could be playing marbles, and they're going to be bringing it every time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Jeff, you have a good feeling that it's going to be Bryce Young going to Carolina?
I'm starting to lean that way. I like I said, I was on the Stroud train going to Carolina. After his pro day, seeing the love fest with him and Josh McCown, I was thinking, that's the seal of approval right there. But what we're hearing from certain people, and it's a lot of times you hear those reports. A lot more recently, we've had this happen last 2 weeks before the draft. Certain people coming out and saying they like this guy, he's going to be number one. We saw it with Baker Mayfield. We saw it last year with Walker going to Jacksonville. So there's certain guys when they come out within a week or two of the draft and say, this is going to be your number one pick. They traded up for this guy. You're starting to see it come to fruition. So when that same guy is saying it's going to be Bryce Young, I'm starting to really lean that way because they've been accurate so far.
Well, I had Bryce Young from day one, ever since when Carolina made that trade with Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny on my board. I haven't put all the tags up yet, but on grading wise, they are an even split. They're both the same grade, both second round grades at the top of the quarterback board. Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. First time I've ever had the top of my board with quarterbacks with the same grade. They've always been a couple of percentage points apart, but never the exact same grade, never in a stack like that. So it's real, and there's a lot to like about both. If you're into the more off-schedule throwing athletic guy that's going to give you a lot more, then Bryce Young's your guy. If you want the guy that's going to work the pocket, work progressions, do everything that you want to do traditionally from the pocket, that's a bigger passer, then you're going to go with C.J. Stroud. Because C.J. Stroud can run, he's not going to try to run as much. He wants to throw the football. He wants to work the pocket. He wants to work play action. He wants to sit in that pocket and be a traditional passer. Meanwhile, Bryce Young is willing to do it by any means necessary.
Now, with Brady retiring from Tampa Bay, do you see Tampa Bay taking the quarterback?
I can. I don't know if it happens in the first round, but I can. They didn't do Kyle Trask any favors. They didn't. You drafted him. You had every chance to prepare him, especially last year. I think the indictment was last year. Tom Brady took a leave from the team, said, I need time to handle all my personal affairs. That was the perfect time to get him out there with the ones, get him time with Mike Evans and all those guys, let him go up against the top defenses and with the starting offensive line and get better. Instead, they started the journeyman, Blaine Gabbert, in those preseason games. Mm-hmm. He went with the ones, and then Kyle Trask went out there with the backups. Well, what happens when you go out there with the backups, though? The backup offensive line doesn't protect you that well. The backup receivers don't separate and get open. You wind up holding the ball too long. You look horrible, right? And that's what happened. Okay, so he didn't look great. And when you watch the film, it's because he's sitting there padding, waiting for guys to get open. It's just not a good way to teach a young quarterback that you want to be a starter is to put him out there with the backups. It's great the first couple of years when you're not even trying to play him, but when you start to try to get him ready, you want him to play with the ones. Every quarterback that's a young quarterback that's been prepared to starts with the offense, goes out there with the starting offense at some point in the preseason and plays at least a half or a quarter.
Now, is that it?
I'm taken.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
If they do take a quarterback, who do you see them taking? Talking about Tampa Bay.
Right.
If they take a quarterback, it's got to be one of the guys that falls from the top. I don't think they're going to push the issue in the first round. I think they'll push the issue in the second or third round. They won't push it in the first. If there's somebody that they like that falls, if they see Will Levis there at 19, or if they fall back to 24 or 25 and Will Levis is there, they'll take him. If they see a Richardson at that point, they'll take him. Those guys that they know that they can take their time with, they can work on them. They have Baker Mayfield here now, so they have a bridge starter to whoever the next the young starter will be in the future. So they have a guy for right now in Baker Mayfield. That's the opportunity for them to work on either finally getting Kyle Trask ready or taking one of these guys in this draft to compete with Trask for the future job.
Right.
My question then is it an indictment of Kyle Trask or an indictment of Tampa Bay? Because if they've evaluated him in practice and they go, we don't trust him with the ones, is that an indictment of Kyle Trask? Or?
I would say more on Tampa Bay, right? You had the perfect opportunity to prepare him. You had Tom Brady here, so you weren't trying to start him anytime soon. All right, so while he's been there for a couple of years with Tom Brady, he spent his rookie year as a number 3. He wasn't even a number 2. So he sat in that room with Tom Brady. He knowing Kyle Trask, he did pick Tom Brady's brain. And Tom Brady would teach him because at this point in his career, what has he got to lose, right? So when I look at the situation, it came down to last year. They were looking at it as we were still a Super Bowl contending team, and we needed a guy to go out there and compete in case we don't have Tom Brady. When Tom Brady stepped away, that's what they were doing. That's why they kept sending Gabbert out there. It wasn't about so much preparing for the future with Trask at that point. They were talking about who's going to be the guy that's going to be here if we don't have Tom Brady. Who's going to start for us? And they believed it was Blaine Gabbert, which is why Gabbert got the 1 reps. So that's on Tampa Bay. That's not on Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask can't jump. He can't jump into the first huddle. That's up to the coaches to put him there.
Anything else, guys, you want to ask?
I can't think of anything.
I'm good. I'm just gonna let that go because I think that my quandary is that what didn't Kyle Trask do right to earn those first team reps? That's my question.
He just wasn't going to be able to win right now, and they wanted to win right now. And unfortunately, the reason why he was in the second round was because he wasn't a win now quarterback when they drafted him. It's just some guys were there. He was there to learn and develop as a pro quarterback, and that was the original runway they had for him. It got shortened when Tom Brady stepped away, and all of a sudden that runway got shorter because they needed somebody just in case Tom wasn't going to be there, and they chose Blaine Gabbert. But if you're drafting a guy for long-term success, and in that situation you have to start to get him ready early. You got to put him out there with the guys. He's going to look bad. That's the whole point. He hasn't played. He's gonna have moments where he looks bad. He's not good. Not everybody gets to come out looking great. You got to prepare him. They didn't prepare him to win. They were just looking for somebody to win for them now, and he wasn't the guy. It just wasn't. It wasn't meant to be that way. It was meant to teach him how to win at the next level. He hasn't done it.
And no offense, he's a Florida quarterback. They never well in the NFL. No, I mean you can go back and look through the history. Spurrier didn't do very well. Palmer didn't do. Danny Werfel didn't do well. Anthony Richardson's got, the odds stacked against him. It's just we're not a quarterback. We're not quarterback. I mean, they play great in college. They play great in the SEC, but when it goes to the pro level, I don't know what happens to them. They seem to go off the radar because none of them have been able to really have that great of a career. Being at
Tebow,
and you can't claim Cam Newton.
No, I won't claim. No. Cam was the Tiger. Cam was the Tiger. Yeah, I know Cam was with the Gators.
You don't if you want to.
But he went to Auburn and won a national championship with. Now Gus Malzahn, who's the head coach at UCF.
Yeah.
And again, Jeff knows I cover USF, so UCF is like rubbing salt in the wounds. That's the rival team. Even though they're not on the schedule this year, UCF changed conferences.
Yeah.
So they're not playing us this year at the end of the season, so it should be a little bit different.
I don't like that. I don't like that, like changing conferences stuff. It doesn't seem like there's any loyalty anymore to the college game. It's like, oh, I want to go. Oh, you got to pay us what? You got to pay us how much? Hey, I'm going. Bye. I mean, it's
fun opportunity.
Yeah, but it's
Mhm.
all it's kind of ruining all the rivalries too.
Yeah,
But they
it hasn't been traditional college football in a long time. Once the
Yeah.
big money got into it, it became business just like everything else. So that's why you have schools balancing conferences, coaches that leave in the middle of their contracts, and now you have the transfer portal and NIL. So it became big business, and it has finally made its way all the way down to the players. And it just comes with the territory. Once you get that much money involved, people are going to want their hands in the pot.
That's right.
It's not like when I was
I
young,
mean,
was it?
Yeah. Well, when we were young, it was still amateur, right? The
Right.
schools made
Yeah.
all the money, and it was still amateur. Unfortunately, it's just not that way anymore. It finally caught up to them, and
Yeah.
they tried very hard to keep it that way. But when the schools and the coaches and everybody are doing what's best for their bottom line, eventually
Yeah.
the players are going to do the same thing too. So
Right.
there was no loyalty at that point once it became too big for itself.
Yeah. Too big for the
I mean,
business, of course.
speaking of college football, it was kind of cool. I went to the USF spring game last Friday, and it was cool to be on the sidelines to see Coach Golish. He's the new guy that took over for Jeff Scott.
Yes.
Different way he ran it. Green team was just strictly offense. White team was strictly defense. They didn't keep score. There was no score kept. They scored touchdowns and stuff like that, but there was no score kept. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is interesting because under every other coach I've seen, under Jeff Scott, under Charlie Strong in the previous year, they always kept score. Each team had an offense. Each team had a defense. So Coach Golish decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to change it up. The only thing that I wanted to see, and I think a lot of us that were there, media, is they built that new indoor practice facility. How come you couldn't have the spring game in there? I mean, come on. We've been on the sidelines in the indoor practice facility, but I don't think there's enough room in there for the fans. I think they wanted to keep it, for the fans. There was a lot of people there. I would say had to be 2,000 to 3,000 people in attendance. And I know USF is not a huge team. Obviously, we're not a big team, but to have that many people at a spring game on a Friday night, I would take that. If we can have a decent season, is going to be the biggest question under Golish, and we got to win more than one game. We got to win more than one game.
Yeah, you do.
This upcoming season. So
and they can't be against the Bethel Coons of the world.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Well, if you miss
college football,
if you miss Coach Ernie Sims, you'll see him when you see UCF.
talking about college football, I heard that Archie Manning did not look good in that Texas spring game.
Yeah, he had his rough spots. He was all over the place at times. There were times he threw some good balls, but he was all over the place. I didn't expect him to come right in, but he's got to come in and he's got to compete in a different way than Quinn Ewers is. Quinn Ewers is a little more athletic than he is. I watched him in high school, some of his film. He can run, but now you're playing against guys that can chase you down. He kind of got away with stuff in high school that he can't get away with in Texas. And it showed in the spring game, but it also shows who he's throwing to. I'm not really overjoyed with the talent and wide receiver in Texas right now. So I think they could do a lot better with what they're recruiting at wide receiver. So you got all these quarterbacks, but they're throwing the guys they're solid players, but you don't have game breakers at their position right now. And it showed in that spring game. Those guys weren't exactly separating a lot from the DBs. So he was had to force some balls in there, and he was missing some. Some of them were open, and he was shooting them over their head. But he still got a long way to go getting comfortable. One with pass rush coming up that he can't control. He's not comfortable with the pocket collapsing in his face. He's not comfortable when that edge pressure gets there quickly. So that still forces him to panic and force some throws. So I think when he gets more mature and is able to understand working the pocket and seeing rush before he gets to you and understanding how to slide properly. Because doing it in the drill is one thing. Doing it when that 270-pound D tackle is coming at you is a whole nother thing. So I think that's what he's at right now, is he's got to learn how to play it at this college level the way he did it at the high school level. Some guys are able to figure it out. Some guys aren't.
Jeff, speaking of that, I didn't get a chance to watch. How did the Florida spring game go? Because no Anthony Richardson, so it should be interesting to see who the quarterback is.
A little shaky. Both quarterbacks look a little shaky. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of control passing. So when you get the control passing, when guys are in rhythm with that, it looks a lot better than it really is. They're not really being tested. When they did take some shots down the field, they had some nice throws. They had some really, unfortunately, bad throws. I still think their issue starts on the offensive line and the defensive line. If they can get that area shored up where they can protect the quarterback and consistently run the football and stop the run and get pressure on the quarterback consistently, I believe that's where Florida will finally get the consistency in winning games, because they don't control the ball. They don't control the game at the line of scrimmage. They try to control it with their skilled players. Meanwhile, you're going against the SEC schools, Georgia, Alabama, who control the line of scrimmage. So if you can't match up with the line of scrimmage against those schools, you don't have a chance of winning.
Any other questions, gentlemen, for Mr. Barnes?
That had was little Jordan Humphrey. Now Humphreys was a great receiver. He could separate. He could catch the 50-50 balls, and he had the speed. But when he got into the NFL, it seems like he a step or two.
Well, the problem with him is he got pigeonholed into being more of a slot receiver, right? So when you're that slot receiver, you're going to always get that set of routes that people feel most comfortable with you running. When you're able to move around the formation, it opens up a lot of the game for you. That's why you're seeing a lot of these guys now. Cole Beasley was great at a certain set of routes. Not a huge deep threat, but he was able to shake anybody underneath. He was able to eat up zone. He was able to eat up any man coverage. Humphreys was a good slot receiver, but he wasn't exactly special at it. So what happened is he was able to do certain things, have certain success. But when teams realize he's not a special guy that's going to shake too many guys off, as long as you can stay in phase with him, you're going to be able to shut him down. So that's kind of where he got pigeonholed into. He was a slot. He wasn't really moved around the formation a lot. And he kind of got in that situation where, you get slot receivers that are coming out and they're special. They're able to get vertical, they're able to do this. Plus, they're still able to do the underneath stuff that a lot of people want. And now they're adding in a lot of the college concepts with the jet sweeps and all that. Those guys are able to do a lot of that stuff. So they're coming in the backfield, motioning around, doing a lot of different things. So when you're just being used as a slot to run the option routes underneath, run the crossing routes underneath, and occasionally run some of those intermediate to vertical routes, you're going to be easily replaced by the guy that can do a lot more.
Speed kills.
Especially with the matchup football we're playing now.
And if you're only good at it, you're replaceable, like you said.
Yes, you are.
And it's unfortunately that's just how the league is, right? We have a cap for a reason. We don't want to continuously pay people. We don't want to pay the big money. So if you can keep getting slot players every 2-3 years out of the draft, out of free agency for medium to little money, and they're productive, why would you pay anybody big money, right? So that's why Hollywood Brown got shipped out of Baltimore. Very good slot player, but they weren't going to pay him 18, 19, 20 million this year. So they shipped him to Arizona. So it's just what it is. If you want to make the most sense out of any NFL move, follow the money, because it's always going to tell you what they think of a player. If they want to pay, if they believe that much about him, they're going to pay him. If they don't believe in him that much, they're going to find somebody cheap.
Yeah, and younger,
That too.
because that's the biggest thing is that, you know, it's like that old saying, you know, I keep getting older and the girls stay the same age. We keep getting older and the draft and the kids coming out of the draft, they're the same age.
Yeah.
You know, and
Figure that out.
when
And that, you just mentioned age, which is one of the interesting things when we talk about Hendon Hooker, because everybody's talking about he's an older quarterback, he's an older player, he's been there a little bit longer, but we also have to factor in the fact it is the quarterback position. Quarterbacks tend to play longer. It's not as big a detriment as it would be a wide receiver and some of the other skilled players. So I think that's one of the things with Hendon Hooker you have to look at and not use the age as much. I know the analytics guys love it. They say, oh, no, he's at physical peak. He's getting older. He's going to be out of it faster. But he's a quarterback. The position tends to play longer and last longer in the league, depending on the style of play. If he can adjust to be more of a pocket passer, still utilize his ability to move around and throw the football, I think he'll last longer in the league. But I don't think age is going to be as huge a factor as some teams believe it is.
No, shouldn't.
well, and to kind of, because I think that the same thing applies to Stetson Bennett. And I think that people are gun shy with these older quarterbacks now because of how bad Brandon Weeden was. Well, yeah. Brandon Weeden was almost 30. He wasn't 25, and he played on a mediocre. He played well, kind of like the other guy you mentioned earlier, Dak Prescott, who he played well on a mediocre Cowboys team, and Cleveland reached absolutely 100% reach for Brandon Weeden.
Yes, they were desperate. They needed a franchise quarterback. He was the best of the lot that they had left at the time, they believed. Unfortunately, Brandon Weeden, as an older quarterback, was that traditional pocket passer. So what happens is, while he wasn't a special player, he was a traditional player. You knew where you were going to find him when you rushed the passer. Could he escape the pocket? Yes, but he wasn't going to hurt you with his legs too often. He wasn't going to make some big throws on the run. He was going to be a conservative, work the field quarterback. So it just so happened that, he wound up lasting as a backup, which is really what he was. And unfortunately, people saw him as a starter because of his success at Oklahoma State.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
Nope.
I'm all right.
Well, Mr. Barnes, thank you for coming on. Again, it was a pleasure to meet you at the USF games, and I want to say, sir, and we contact each. I think it's LinkedIn, right? That I messaged you on, or one of those.
Well, you got me on Twitter, and you probably got me on LinkedIn too. You probably have me on LinkedIn too.
But I mean, if you ever want to come on here again, you're always welcome to come on, and I'll be in touch with you. Stuff like that.
By all means, listen, I'll come back anytime you need me, fellas.
Appreciate it.
So we're going to have you back on after the draft for sure.
I was going to say, why don't we'll talk off and I'll say, hey, come on and give us. I want to hear what the board that you had, Jeff, to how it actually went in the first round, and we can kind of compare. And I would definitely can have you on in a couple of weeks. We'll make sure that we do that.
Perfect.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, sir. Mm-hmm.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Gonna try.
Alex, what's going on, brother?
Very, very, very knowledgeable.
Oh.
Yeah, guys, I these last 2 weeks with these guests have been freaking awesome. Let me just say that out loud. It's been pretty damn good the last 2 weeks. And again, the guy that I'm talking to, he's a friend of mine on Facebook. He's got like 2 or 3 other guys he wants to come on here, and he wants to talk sponsorship. So when I meet up with him, Gerald, I'll talk to him about the network, see what he wants to do with that. So, I'm working it. I promise. So,
That would be awesome if we could get him to come on and sponsor the
guys.
network.
That'd be great.
what's up, Alex?
Alec, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, God.
I'm gonna have to send him the link.
I was watching
Yeah.
quite enthusiastically. What a great guest, man. Jeff was on spot, man. I mean, talk about intel and just like war room. That guy gets it. He's boots on the ground. He knows stuff that, I mean, what a great guest. That's probably.
And it was a good time to have him on now that we're a week away from the draft. So that was a cool time.
Absolutely.
And I think we'll bring him on like a week after the draft, maybe the week, maybe not next week, but the week after. I'll talk to him on Twitter and have him come back on and have us talk to him about how his first round went.
Yeah.
But
Probably better than ours.
And
I can agree with that.
he was already deep into some really cool talk when I was trying to get in here. So I didn't really know his whole background. Now, was he a scout or does he have a playing background? I mean, he had awesome pedigree, it seemed like.
Yeah, I guess he said, Alex, that he's like the guys that you watch on NFL Network, but he gets paid a lot less. So he kind of is a scout, but he doesn't have a GM or a coach to report to. So he can go out and grade guys. I mean, he was at the USF game grading USF players. He was there to watch, guys that were draft capable. And I think there's only like one guy I think that may make the draft for USF this year. But and I want to say he was on defense too. But he was there, and I happened to bump into him, and the guy that that got me into announcing that again last week. I thank Gerald and you guys for bringing it up that I'm going to be the announcer for Pinellas Park High School.
Heck yeah!
I met them through him, and it was pretty cool, and I had to have him come on, and I've been in touch with him on Twitter, and so it was a good time to have him come on tonight and talk to us.
Yeah.
But I can agree with what he said about
Awesome
Dallas
stuff,
taking a linebacker in the first round, because that makes sense.
It really does, especially that late in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, and I agree with him with the Bucks either trading back or taking an offensive lineman. They need a left tackle, because unless they move Tristan Wirfs across, you got to have a left tackle. So any of those kids out of Ohio State would fit well here. Like he said, that they are strapped. The Bucks are in cap hell. They got out of it, but they're still in cap hell, and you can sign younger players to lesser money on the contract than a veteran guy who would want a boatload. And now I heard I forgot. I meant to ask him about that. Now he's gone. About Devin White. Devin White wants a trade. He wants out of here because he wants to be paid, and the Bucks aren't going to pay him. So I was going to ask him if there was any talk about Devin White, and I forgot to ask. Oh well, that was on me. That's just occurred.
Okay.
We'll try to remember next time we have him on. See what if there hasn't been a move made there.
I was going to say, but if they haven't moved him on draft night for more picks, I mean, that could be another thing that Jason Light's doing too. Like he may say, "Hey, I'll trade you Devin White and the 19th pick to move up, or I'll take a couple picks." He's right. Jeff's right. The Bucks do tend to move back. The year they won the Super Bowl, I think they pulled back to round 2 and drafted Troyan Trinka. That was their first overall pick, but it was in round 2. They traded their first pick away because I think that was the second year we did the show, and I'm thinking, okay, the Bucks won the Super Bowl. We're going to get a pick, and he goes, "Oh, the 32nd pick has been traded." I'm like, all night long, Bucks fans have been waiting to hear that, and no, they've been traded. They traded the pick. So
and Brad on the Brad, it's funny just being out here in Sun City. Still, I love it out here in Florida. Anyways, I was talking to a couple guys. I mean, people out here, they know their football. I don't care if you're 14 or 80. A couple of my mom's neighbors,
Right.
you know, they're wearing Bucks jerseys. Oh yeah, we're talking Eagles, Bucks, Giants, whatever, Titans, whatever, times 10. And we're talking about Brady, and just eventually the downfall of the Bucks temporarily was because, and you, me, and my brother, we all saw it. Defensive line is absolutely deplorable. So unfortunately, no one wants to see a hometown favorite. That's Buckner, Devin White. Obviously, he should. If every movie ends, every good feel-good movie, he should be a lifetime Buck. If he's asking for, $17 million a year, no, I mean now you build through the draft. You got to rebuild that line. Maybe you move him for 2 linemen. I mean, they kind of got to reset and rebuild that line first.
And then if they dump him out at linebacker, now all you have is Levante David, and he's no spring chicken, but I think Levante, like you just mentioned, he's a lifetime Buck. He was drafted. He went through the rough years of them losing.
Yeah.
Then he won a championship. So he's been through him and Mike Evans, I think, have been the 2 journeymen as far as been dragged through the the mud with Jameis Winston and them losing a lot of games to them winning the Super Bowl with Tom coming here. So yeah, those 2, we'll see Levante David and we'll see Mike Evans, names in the Ring of Honor down the road. That's a definite. I think both of those names will be up on the Ring of Honor.
I'm just thinking right now it's not the most popular thing, and Bucks fans won't like it, but I'm thinking the most realistic way to quickly get back to being that playoff dance, because it's a tough league. No one waits for you to catch back up. They might have to somehow that set, because if Devin White taking 18, 17 million, that might be 2 or 3 young linemen. They might have to I don't know if it's possible I've seen guys that I love. I think everyone here has different teams. They've seen awesome players walk away because of money. The Bucks got to build that line. They 2 are really good linemen right now.
Well, at least none of your franchises have had 2 guys walk away in their prime.
I know who he's referring to.
Oh, okay.
I know who he's referring
Megatron. Oh, yeah. And number 2.
And Barry.
Barry Sanders and Megatron. Okay. Yeah, of course. 2 of the best ever. I'm just saying, reality sometimes really sucks. I think Devin White should never even worry about moving his awesome family outside of Florida. But I'm saying, you know what I mean? It's a vicious nature. You can't pay everyone. They need an offensive line. Look at Brady. Brady had 1.5 seconds to throw it. Brady's traumatized last year. They need to get an offensive line first.
And Baker,
than a linebacker.
There are a lot of good young linebackers in the draft this year.
Yeah, Bucks have a lot of.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And you can.
I wouldn't be.
And you can draft. Maybe 1 or 2 awesome Gators or Seminoles. You can get a couple Florida guys in the draft, 3rd, 4th round. Ball hawks. They might not be Devin White, but I mean, you can. It's easier to find another good linebacker versus. I mean, you build the trenches. The Bucks got to get the line right.
No, I agree. I agree with that. They have to, and again, I think Adam was going to say, but you got to protect Baker Mayfield. I know Baker can run, but you don't want him running for his life. And like Jeff was saying, the guy behind him has very little experience with the number 1s. Kyle Trask has very, very, very limited time. So you don't want to get Baker hurt because that would not be good.
And my thing about Kyle Trask is that obviously he hasn't done enough in the meeting room and the film room to warrant playing with the 1s. That's what I was trying to get at. Was that, what exactly isn't Kyle Trask doing where the Bucks organization is going, we're going with Blaine Gabbert? What has he not shown in the last 2 years where the Bucks organization is going, we're going with the journeyman Blake Gabbert. Because to me, it's obvious to me that Kyle Trask is not showing marked improvement where the Bucks feel comfortable letting him get his brains beat in for a year to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
I agree. And now at the same time, and Adam, awesome point. Might I add? I mean, it might be because they're scared of him getting absolutely because they have no line. They might be trying on draft with a line and then let Trask get in. Maybe they're protecting Trask. Baker could crash test dummy at 1 year deal. They're not exactly married to him.
Right. And maybe this will be Kyle Trask, this will be the year where Kyle Trask is the 2. And Kyle Trask will start in the preseason games. And we'll actually see him develop. And
yeah.
I just have to wonder, what is it that the Bucks aren't seeing? What that they're going, we're going with Blaine Gabbert. That's what I was trying to do. That's what I was trying to get to. The point that I was trying to make was that, they're obviously not seeing something in Kyle Trask that they think they have in Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just experience. Maybe it is just experience. Maybe it's just that they feel Blaine Gabbert is the better option to win now. But, if we knew 3 years ago that they had a 2-year window when Brady comes to Tampa Bay, that's why they took Kyle Trask, is because they knew they had a 2-year window. So what did Kyle Trask do on the practice squad in 2021, in 2022, where they were like, no, we're going to go with Blaine Gabbert. But we know what Blaine Gabbert is. He's a journeyman backup clipboard holder.
Yes.
So,
I mean, Blaine Gabbert, I don't even know if he's a placeholder. It's not about going with Blaine Gabbert. I don't think his wife wants to go with Blaine Gabbert. That guy is not an NFL quarterback. So now you have Baker Mayfield, total 1 year stopgap. So it's like the Bucks are kind of resetting on the fly. In a great year, the Bucks could win 9 games and pack the stadium and look legit and not anywhere. Let's be realistic. This will have Hall of Famers. They have Mike Evans. They have Chris. Ask any GM in the world. Love to have some of the weapons. The Bucks have plenty of talent. They need to get a gosh darn line, and then maybe hand the keys to Kyle Trask. I don't think they want to put Trask behind that line. It's just, and
that could be true also.
They have to reevaluate. They have to reset and build a line.
I can definitely agree with that, because when you can have the greatest quarterback in the world sitting back there. If you can't protect him, it's bad news. And, that's what makes it really, really hard. It's bad news if you can't protect your quarterback. So, but yeah, I could definitely see the Bucks trading back or trading Devin White for picks, stuff like that.
Both.
Which sucks.
And you package Devin White in that.
Oh, but he might have to see that. He should be able.
It's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. And
right.
Devin White. Devin White wants. Any of us. If we're not happy with our jobs, we go courting a new job. We have to leave the job we have. We might like where we might like the people we work with. We might like the city we work in. But, if somebody else is offering us a better deal, more money, better hours, more family time, whatever it may be that's the draw, we're going to take the deal and we're not going to feel bad about it. And so, me personally, and feel free to disagree, I can't blame somebody wanting to get, especially a sinking ship like the Buccaneers. Then Devin White can see the handwriting on the wall. that they're going to be, well, they're in cap hell right now. He knows he can't get paid in Tampa, and he knows that staying in Tampa, it's not like you take less money and you got a shot at a ring. This is, I take less money and I'm stuck in another rebuild for 5 or 10 years. I can't blame him for wanting out.
Well said.
I'm also going to say, though, I mean, I agree with 95% of what you said, Ad, as usual. I'm going to say a little 5% little rebuttal, though. The cap hell, it sounds really like an impossible hill to climb. I know my old Eagles a couple of years ago, oh, hell, no, you cut a couple of people, you bring in veterans that you trust, invested in building their families in Tampa. You say, hey, guys, Mike, Chris Quinn, guys, we need to restructure your contracts. Trust me, overnight, within the next week, you can free up cap space. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
the Buccaneers have a lot.
I
still, that's not an expansion. That's a very good roster. That's a very good roster. They need a line. It can be done overnight.
I'm not.
They're not screwed for half a day.
I'm not.
I don't think.
I'm not going to disagree with you. You're absolutely right. It can be done, but you've also got to think. You got to look at it from. You got to look at it from. You got to look at it from Devin White's position. Does he want to go through? It's you can have a 1-year plan, but what happens when that 1-year plan turns into a 3-year plan, turns into a 5-year plan, and now you're 38, and you stuck it out in Tampa Bay, but you never got back to the top of the mountain. You lost out on all that extra money, and you're 5 years on, and what's more likely? It's Occam's razor. What's more likely? A 1-year turnaround or 10 years of misery? So you got I can't blame a player for weighing his options and looking for a better opportunity. I know that's a double-edged sword. The grass is always greener on the other side till you get to the other side. You might say, he may end up in like a Baltimore. Baltimore is poised to win. Now we could go to the Jets. The Jets might deal 13 to the Bucks for Devin White and some later picks. And the Jets may send 13 to the Bucks for 19 Devin White, and and a couple of picks later on. The Jets might give them a second and a third, and and then he gets to New York, and they never really ascend while he's there. They make the playoffs a couple of times, but they never really ascend. And Tampa Bay takes a lineman at 13, and in 2 years is back in the thick of it. You never know.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot. There's no easy answer, especially for. And they'll give. Trust me, they want him there. They're going to talk to him if they're smart. If the front office, and I think they are. I mean, they just want a ring. Tampa's legit. They're having those talks right now. They don't want to prematurely give up on him. He might want to go somewhere else. We'll see.
I was going to ask you guys, what did you think about Max Scherzer getting suspended for 10 games?
You got caught with it, though. You did what was supposed to be done.
Hands.
Yeah, with the substance. You got caught. He's like,
well, if you get a chance, watch John Boy Media. He's the guy that does.
He's so good.
He's the one that exposed the Astros cheating scandal. If you watch his channel, I just got done watching that clip about Max Scherzer, and I mean, he narrates it, and every word. I mean, he breaks it down, slows it down, and then you can read what the player is saying. So yeah, I mean, he's like, it's just rosin and sweat. It's just, and it continues that way. And he goes, "You got to be effing kidding me! I can't believe you're throwing me out." And right before we came on, I saw that he had been suspended for 10 games. for the substance on his hands, illegal substance on his hands. So I wanted to get you guys' opinion on a veteran.
Well, I mean,
veteran pitcher.
Hey, the rules are the rules. You broke the rules, you pay the consequences. But I've said this ever since they started using the sticky stuff and it became a controversy. It's like they should be allowed a certain amount of sticky stuff to be used every game. Each team should be allowed a certain amount of sticky substance that can be used per game, and just be done with it. Make it legal, and just because both the pitchers and batters say they want a little bit. Batters are like, I would rather have a little bit of sticky stuff on the ball so that they have better grip, better control, and the ball is not, that they can throw the ball better and I'm not getting hit in the head. And pitchers are like, they want the spin, the rotation, get better rotation, they get better grip. And so give them an allotment of the sticky stuff. Once that allotment is used up, then that's it. That's all they have for. And then at that point, if you're caught using extra sticky stuff, then
You're gone.
that's it. That's it. You're done. I think the league should make it the first base umpire's job. The pitcher comes out, he gets his allotment of sticky stuff per inning. Just like how they go and they have the interaction where they check for the substances. He just goes over, he puts a dab on his wrist, and we play ball. Because I think that the idea that it's not something, to me, it's not like a steroid. Like, how steroids are cheating. It's not something that is dangerous. It's just a competitive advantage. I mean, if I can get a competitive advantage and, if it makes the game better, if it makes the game more competitive, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be at the Braves Astros game on Sunday.
Cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna boo the Astros.
How much?
Just for Lou.
How much I hate doing the tomahawk chop. You do that for me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the Seminoles. It's not the Seminoles. It's the Braves chop. So.
What's the that's true. And outside of the Rays and the Marlins, the closest baseball team to me would be Atlanta. And
yeah.
Speaking of Atlanta, when I come see you, my man, next month, I have a 41-minute layover in Atlanta. So it's
very nice.
It's interesting. But I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on what happened with Scherzer and everything.
One more baseball thing, Hoosier. You see that Oakland bought a piece of property in Las Vegas?
Bob, na. Hey.
Goodbye.
They're leaving Oakland, baby. They're leaving Oakland. I think we all thought that was going to happen.
Sure.
And you know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, if they don't get a deal done here locally, that's going to be the Rays doing the same thing. Going by.
Now,
so
yep.
What I've seen is that is going to happen in 2027.
That's when the lease is up.
That's the rumor
for
Yep.
Tropicana Field. Yes.
The lease is up
No.
The year.
For the A's to move to
Oh, the A's to Vegas. Yeah, because it takes, what's the average? It takes a year and a half to get the stadium built, 2 years to get a stadium built. So, it would take at least 2 years before, if Oakland plays, if this is let's say Oakland says we're done, we're moving to Vegas. They announce it, the next 2 seasons they'll play in Oakland and then they'll leave and go to Vegas in 2027 or 2026 or something like that.
Can't show up in the new stadium and play tomorrow. Yeah, everyone, all signs are pointing to 2027 is like the year that they can logistically, feasibly, they will be literally the Las Vegas, whatever, Billy Beans.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
who,
Billy Bean.
that's who owns them.
Travis.
A baked bean. A baked
Oh, yeah.
bean.
But the thing is, the lease is up after the end
Gosh,
of next
literally,
season.
what a charade. What a
When is the lease
travesty.
up, Lou, for the Coliseum?
The A's. God.
Next year.
In a year?
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
So is it in November of 2023 or November of 2024?
2024.
Okay, so they still got to play. So they'll play this
no, I mean-
season, and they could play next season there, and then it's going to be it after that.
You know,
I wonder if they'll
you know what
play
the
in.
holdup is, though, the delay. No, it's taking until 2027 because they're literally gonna the Major League's gonna put like the A's front office in prison for 3 years. 2027 they can reset. Billy Bean's done. I mean, seriously, they're like, guys, leave. Let's start anew in 2027. We can act like it never happened.
Well,
The Coliseum was never a thing. I mean, what a charade. There's like 800 people at the games. What a joke. It's not fair to the fans. It's a travesty.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll play in Allegiant Stadium. I wonder if I wonder if that can be converted to play baseball for a couple of years.
On turf. That's a good stadium. Yeah, they can do that. They'll do turf. They can go Rays, or they can go they can flip the dome. Isn't that a drop?
I believe it's retractable.
Isn't the Raiders?
They could also.
They'll make that a sexy. That'll be a sexy stadium. Yeah.
Although they could end up playing
they'll
with,
do it up.
I think UNLV. I think UNLV has a baseball team. They could play at the UNLV for a couple of years.
Hey, if the
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly
Arizona
turf, so
Coyotes
because-
can play hockey in a college stadium, then so can the A's.
Well, I suggest they play baseball, but
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
can talk about the hockey playoffs if you want.
we can do that.
You know what?
Hey, are you watching the Rangers tonight?
I just confirmed that Jeff will be back on the week after the draft. Just confirmed that.
Nice. He's
There you
awesome, man. Hey,
Yes.
good guess, man. That's it, man. Networking, Brad. There you go.
So yeah, I just confirmed he's going to come back on. Oh, well, speaking of the Rangers, what's going on with them and the Devils?
3-1 Rangers right now. Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
And
Lou.
did the
Uh-oh.
Leafs flip the script on the Lightning? Did the
Yes.
Leafs flip the script tonight?
They've-
Because aren't they out in front by a lot of goals? I think that's what I saw.
6-1 in the third
6-1.
period. Yep.
Okay, well that means the series is tied at 1 going back to Tampa.
For all intents and purposes, yes.
Yeah, I
All important game 3.
yeah, game 3 in Tampa. So, and we played very well at home. So that's a good thing.
But the
We
big
played
shock,
very
I
well.
think, was last night when Boston actually lost.
To Florida.
And badly. Badly.
In Boston, yeah, in Boston too. Of all places
Well,
to lose, they lose
I
in
think
Boston.
I think with Bergeron out, that
Hey,
might
man.
have been a factor. Bergeron was injured in Sunday's season.
Hey, all I know is proud rosters like that, man. Comes time like this, the moment of truth, massive do or die these playoff games. Throw the rosters out, throw the stats out. I mean, you think Tampa's afraid of playing Boston? Oh, they set the record for most wins. They don't care. Come on,
No.
they want them head on right now. Boston's nasty. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, Tampa could win it all too. There's a few different teams, I think.
Yes.
The Kraken gave the Avs a game.
There you go.
I think the
Anything
team-
possible.
I think the team that no one's talking about, and I hate to say this, that has a good legitimate shot winning the cup is Edmonton. I don't want to see a Canadian team win a cup, but
I don't think so. They got embarrassed the other night against the Kings.
You get the
Yeah.
is it 1-1 though?
Best
Did they
players
tie
in
the
prep.
series up? Or
Is it one? Did they tie it up? I didn't know if they played game
I don't
2
know.
yet.
That's a good question, bud. Hang on a minute. Let me look. I didn't know that they got beat by
I
the
think
Kings. I thought it was the other way around. So that was my
Yeah, they
fault.
lost in overtime.
Adam, is it 1-1?
Remember, a
I'm
goal
not
was
sure.
called back in the first overtime, and the Kings took advantage of it.
So yeah, so they're
I-
okay. So let me jump forward here because they played them wrong night. Okay, so Carolina and the Islanders.
Edmonton. I mean,
Carolina's up 2-0.
Yep.
Boston's 1-1. Dallas and Minnesota 1-1. Edmonton and LA are 1-1. So the Oilers.
Okay, I didn't realize they played game 2 yet.
Yeah, they won game 2. Yep.
Yes.
So they won game 2.
you got-
So
got
basically, a lot of this series are 1-1 outside of the Carolina Islander series, which I think the Hurricanes may sweep them. I
Be surprised at all.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
But again, like it's interesting to say that because Boston looked so good during the season, but the way they look, I watched highlights from the game last night. If they turn the puck over, Florida will take advantage of that, and the Panthers are not a throwaway team either.
No.
You know, a lot of people say, "Oh,
No,
you know,
never would.
Boston's going to win the
No.
series." I mean, not so much that Florida's our rival in the state of Florida, but they're still a hockey team, and they still put their pads on, and they still skate, and they still could score goals. So, you can't take that away from them. So,
And also,
I mean, yes,
Brad,
they got swept in the
to
Stanley
build
Cup,
on
you know.
your point, also, Brad. Also, Brad, think about it. Psychologically, everyone and your brother and your neighbor and every hockey ain't under the sun. Oh my God, Boston, unstoppable. This is the year. Now, I mean, Carolina's, the opposition's going. You know what? Screw this. We're all professionals. Let's take them out. Where's the pressure? It's got the heat on them. Boston.
Yeah.
The other team's playing with house money.
You just play
Boston's
loose.
feeling the heat.
Just
Oh
play
my
loose.
God, we hit the pipe. We fell down. Turnover, power play, 3-2. Now, Boston's on the heels.
Turnovers, that
mentally.
game last night alone.
Yeah, I mean, they could lose that series. We've seen it before.
Well, I was going to say,
Win the game, man.
Boston being the big bad.
how interesting would that be if it's
We've
the
seen it every
Rangers and the
sport.
Bruins in the Eastern Conference Finals? How cool would I mean? There's a Boston, New York.
Ugh,
I love it.
be fun.
That's the one.
It'd be, I mean, the
That's the one the NHL would want.
Original
Oh, I'm
six.
sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not just that, but it's Boston and New York. I mean, what's better than that? I think they would love Boston, New York, and in the East, and the Kraken and the Knights in the West.
Seattle versus Los Angeles, Vegas. Yep.
The two newest teams versus two of the oldest teams.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Western Conference Final, Knights and Kraken. That would be a very cool Western Conference Final. If it happened to be those two teams.
And then if they got New York and the oldest American franchise versus against Seattle, against the newest American franchise.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
yeah. I just think, I think teams like,
Just to let
whoever
you know,
Boston's facing, these guys are going to love it.
If I disappear,
Go,
don't
G-Dub.
worry,
Sorry,
I'm
bud.
okay. I just got a bad storm in my area, so if I happen to disappear, not say anything, I know why.
Right.
Okay. I just assumed your wife finally had enough.
See all that right there?
Oh my.
Yeah, that's a gnarly one, bud.
That's heading my direction.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been seeing you guys posting in the weather group, so keeping an eye on it. Yeah, so you said you got what? You got heavy storms 20 minutes out.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, be safe, Gerald. Seriously, because
Yeah, if you gotta go, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You got-
If you need to go,
When that's
go right ahead.
when that stuff hits on your perimeter, is that like near your street, or is it like we're going chasing, or is it like coming in your backyard?
It's pretty much batten down all hatches and get ready to ride this bad boy out.
Yeah, it's right on top of it.
I know you're always careful. I'm curious. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Be careful, bro.
Yeah, well, see,
Sure,
I went through training.
Duck and
I went through
cover.
training to become a trained weather spotter, so I know what to look for.
Are they calling
you-
for
you-
tornadoes or
you-
just heavy rain?
Right now, we're just under a severe thunderstorm warning.
Well, when the cows start flying, you start heading for the hills.
Yeah, exactly.
I just tell my wife out there and tell her, okay, you defend for yourself now.
Yeah. Now he really is gonna disappear. I was kidding.
Just gonna say that. Now watch her come up from behind him, and his head's gonna disappear off his body. It's gonna fall to the floor, and his body will get pulled away, and the screen will go black.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Like this.
And we'll be.
Come on,
I'll post the thing on
Come on,
YouTube,
Gino.
and it'll be a death live on the air.
It would.
We'll get 1 million views on the dark web.
We'll be material witnesses in a murder trial.
Yeah, we'll have to find a Texas to be witnesses
Like eight,
for a murder trial. Correct. What happened? What were they talking about? What happened?
Yeah,
We can show you the video, Judge.
80
Right here, we'll
million
show you
views.
the video.
Yeah, here's your proof. Exhibit A right here.
Yeah. 80 million views overnight. Biggest podcast ever.
Yeah.
Put Stephen
Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
Put Stephen A.
We'll
Smith
be
out of
on
business
Fox
tomorrow.
News, CNN, ABC all tomorrow morning. They'll be calling me. Hey, what happened to
You
that
know
guy?
that work?
Gino,
I don't know. I wasn't there. You didn't see me. You don't know me. You've never heard of me.
Oh.
I don't want it to happen.
Podcasting.
I don't want it to happen if it's up. So, be careful. Come on.
I'm
Alex,
sorry, those people before my life.
Alex, this
Yeah.
goes on every week. This is how we have fun.
Hey, G-Dub, when we started talking as rational human beings and we both recognized we were Cowboys Eagles fans, I knew this was a unique relationship. This is something special. So, yeah. It's all good. You put up my ridiculous shit. No one puts up with me, so I already thank you very much.
Yeah.
When, to me, when I do my podcast, I like to have fun with it.
My girlfriend's gonna rent me out to you. Yeah,
We can't afford you, bud.
of course.
She can keep you. I got one. I got my head full of what I have.
He really is gonna die.
We're all gonna die after this show.
G-Dub, you're not going out like that, like Cypress Hill. If you do go out, we're gonna have a body. We're gonna put a body cam on you. Okay, we're gonna walk you through this. We're gonna broadcast it. Okay.
Live.
Like I said, like I've been saying, if I don't see me next week, check the morgue, check the county hospitals.
What?
Check the count.
No, it's just
I'll call Jerry Jones.
he's gonna die mysteriously of a rattlesnake bite,
Ooh.
Yeah, the rattlesnake is my wife.
and then he was bitten 37. Then he was bitten 37 times by a rattlesnake.
And lives.
Like in
I'm
Kill
telling
Bill.
you what, man.
Volume 1, Volume 2.
Telling you what, you want a good. You
Now,
want
you know how
a
they
good
say,
idea to
I
blow up a
took a small
podcast and
packet
get
of-
views, man. Body cam a tornado watch. Jesus.
Oh,
Sounds
yeah.
incredible. Yeah,
And the
that's money right there. It's dangerous, but it's money. A lot of clicks.
Speaking of-
I'm not gonna live, but a lot of clicks involved.
Speaking of,
You're too young.
James Harden just got ejected, by the way. That's why I changed it over to the
what'd he do?
G
Did he step on somebody?
G-Dub.
I know, because Draymond Green got suspended for that too. So the guy grabbed his ankle. What do you expect you to do? He grabs his ankle, and then what do you expect him to do? I don't get it. I don't get that.
You can't step on a guy.
Well, I understand that. I mean, but it's Draymond Green. Come on, what do you?
I mean, I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
It's that old hockey saying they always get the second guy. You get wacky, and the referee turns around and he sees you whacking the guy back. Well, he's gonna take you, and he isn't gonna care. And Draymond's got, and it's Draymond, but it's Draymond. It's and he's been that way ever since he was at Michigan State. You can get under his skin, you can rattle him, you can get him off his game, and he's been suspended for this kind of stuff before, and he's gonna continue to do it. And it's like when we were talking to Coach Mo last week. You know, I can't see them re-signing him. I mean, he's old.
No way.
He's broke down. He's had these kind of issues ever since he came into the league. Even before he came into the league, when he was at Michigan State.
Watch them play better without him tonight. I'm just saying. Draymond is sealed. I'm sorry.
It's
4
possible.
points, 3 rebounds. Yeah, he's cute. He's a very poor man's Dennis Rodman. He is like a 7th man on a good team. Draymond's all talk. I'm sorry, man. Fake thug. Sorry. No, watch them play better tonight without him. No, he's gone to Golden State.
Lou, you're a basketball guy.
man.
Who's Claxton? It says Harden Claxton ejected the 76ers Nets.
Draymond washed.
Go down to the wire.
Yeah.
Do you know who Claxton is? Just real
Starting
quick.
center Nets.
Yeah.
Is he okay? So he's out. Him and Harden are both been ejected out of the game.
He's good.
And
boy.
The Nets are up 90 to
Claxton's-
87 with just over 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yep. But that might have just happened though, so I didn't get the story. So I'll just look here for a second.
Yeah, again, guys. We'll have Jeff Barnes back the week after the draft. So the first week in May, he's
Awesome.
back. So then tonight the Kings can go up 3-0 over the Warriors. I even know they're on the road, so they won both games in Sacramento.
Okay. They're a good ball club.
So the other game is the Suns and Clippers. That series is tied at 1 as they head to the Staples Center. LA's at home. Is this the year that Chris Paul finally gets his ring, or no?
You gotta get past Boston, New York. I don't know.
Well, speaking of the Knicks, Lou's a Knicks fan. They're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Are
We
they?
are.
Are they?
go to a
Are
couple
they up
games.
2-1?
It's one apiece.
No, they're tied
One
1-1. They
Hawks,
they
right?
had that awesome. They stole game one. They stole game one. They stole game 1 in Ohio on Saturday, and then they got smoked on Monday. So now they're back in the Garden for the next one.
Expected.
I mean, that's a 7-game series. Lou and I were talking about this off the air. Both like blue collar teams, Nick talented team. And Adam, by the way, I used to love Draymond Green. Don't get me wrong.
It's Cleveland. I'm sorry.
too
not
much of
Atlanta.
a cartoon character to me.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean back
the Knicks can do it.
5'6".
They have a lot of. They have the best. Go for it, Ad.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I talked over you. No, 5, 6, 7 years ago, Draymond was an integral piece in their championship run. But he's been a goober for the last 3 or 4 years. Well, ever since he got suspended in 2016, he's been a goober.
Yeah.
He's been an absolute liability.
He's become a jerk.
Well, he's
Not
always
like
been a
a
jerk.
villain and like,
Always been
but
one.
like he's gone from like a really good glue player who will like literally take a bullet and like protect his teammates to just being a jerk and a clown. There's a big difference,
Well,
and I see it.
he's a grade A asshole.
I don't like him anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
Exactly.
exactly.
And he
How
didn't
about double A?
he did not used to be like that. So
And you know, I understand getting your ankle grabbed is disconcerting and frustrating. But you can't stomp on a guy's chest. Period. And this is the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
they're already looking at you like, dude, it's almost like a, whatever, 2-time offense. You can't walk around and start. Everyone's looking at you from the refs to the commissioner to the cameras. So when he acts up, yeah, you're damn right. The penalty is going to be a lot more severe. And then he's yelling at the crowd.
Exactly.
Dude, do you just not want to be in the league? They could have suspended him the whole series.
Well, and he's got to know.
He wanted to get suspended.
Well, he's got to know he's on double secret probation. He's got to know he's on double secret probation.
He knows, but maybe he doesn't care.
Drunk and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Lou, that's exactly what it is right there. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care.
Anymore.
Then what
And
do
you know
do?
what? He doesn't want to be in Golden State anymore. I say it sometimes to a
What are
few
you
people
doing,
that I
you
know.
dickweed?
You know, Belichick. Well, Belichick in New England lets a defensive coordinator call offensive play. What's this guy doing? Is he losing his? Oh, he's quietly saying he doesn't want to be there anymore. Wake up! These guys are smarter than that. I'm
Yeah.
saying different athletes, different coaches. Sometimes when they say they don't want to be there anymore, they'll show us in different ways.
Mhm.
Draymond doesn't want to be here. He's almost sabotaging this series. They might play better without him.
Well, he's selfish.
He doesn't offer that much anymore. He doesn't offer that much anymore.
No.
Yeah.
He's selfish. It's all about Draymond, and it's always been about Draymond. And you know, like John Lennon said 50 years ago, winning is a great deodorant. When you're winning, you'll overlook
Yes.
the faults and foibles of your you know, a guy like a Draymond Green, a pest. Well, when you're winning, he's a pest. When you're losing, he's a liability.
Yes.
And when you're winning championships and you're making deep playoff runs, you can ignore a lot of baggage. But when the winning goes away and you're struggling and you're going down 0-2 in a series and you haven't been playing the best basketball, everything you do is magnified.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Draymond steps out on the court and then does something incredibly stupid like stomping on a guy, it's going to be magnified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the most polar, I mean, obviously I'm not Michigan State jersey or a Draymond, hat, but I've always respected the guy before the last couple of years. The way he made his mark and became an incredible player, you'll recall, what was he, second round or undrafted? He was a real sleeper. No one expected him to be a good pro. He worked hard and made his mark in the NBA by being defense baller. I mean, he was one of the rare bigs. He could facilitate. He was a power point guard. He was all these great things, and now he's just become a clown. It's really sad. He's killed his own legacy.
What legacy?
Well, he murked his own legacy in 2016 when he hits a guy in the nuts.
Yeah, and that's what cost him the championship.
And then almost kills Poole in training camp. I've never seen a harder punch.
His own
against
teammate.
Tyson.
His own teammate.
What was that, 4 months ago? Yeah, just disgusting. The guy's off the rails.
Ladies and gentlemen, our idiot of the week.
And we pride ourselves on being off the rails. So if we're telling you you're off the rails,
Of course.
you need to stand up and listen.
You know you got a problem. Oh yeah. But I mean, he did work really hard. He made an incredible legacy back in the day. No one expected Draymond to be a starter,
Let alone an all-star.
team. Wow. Now he's now he's a captain for what, 3 or 4 championship teams. He made an amazing, amazing run. He did what a lot of people never thought he could do. But now he's pissing on his own reputation. He's taking that all from himself. Weird.
And again, like I said, when you're winning, it's attitude. He's got attitude. He's a little rough around the edges. But when you start losing, it's no longer attitude. It's self-destruction.
Yep.
I mean, and when you cost your team games, and now obviously they weren't going to win that game against the Kings the other night. But but they could lose tonight's game and be in a 3-0 hole, and you're no longer an asset. You're a liability. When you make yourself a problem, I can overlook a lot of things. I can look the other way on a lot of things. But when you cost the team, that's when you become a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I understand a hard problem.
We all know right now on this podcast, and whoever's listening, anyone worth salt and knowledge about sports and NBA, I mean, Steph Curry will put up with his stuff.
But
Then you cross the line, you step on Sabonis, and then the rest of the night on national TV with the whole world watching, he's screaming at all the Kings fans. So, like, if they were maybe going to let him get away with it, he goes like he's John Gotti, Scarface, screaming at the whole stadium. He should have been maybe suspended the rest of the year. Like you said, he doesn't care. He's already gone. He doesn't care about the series. If I were Steph Curry, he's not coming over to my house again. He's already out of town. He's done.
Yeah. Well, let's put it. They say hello to his little friends too. Oh no. Oh.
Yeah.
I had to do it.
Man, I just watch though. They're gonna have to go really small tonight. Watch them. They're gonna play 6'4" Gary Payton Jr., the Glove son, on Sabonis. Watch tonight. The Warriors are gonna have the smallest lineup ever, and they might score 150 points. They might destroy the Kings tonight. And Draymond can go cry. They're going to be better.
Draymond's not going to cry. Draymond doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond doesn't give two shits, and that's the problem. Draymond doesn't. They could go out and drop 150 on the Kings tonight, and after they blow them out of the water, and Draymond's not going to feel bad. And they could go out and drop 130 on the Kings and lose 133 to 130 in overtime. And Draymond isn't going to feel bad. Isn't going to feel bad because he wasn't out there playing defense. Draymond won't care.
You know what? Adam? To add to this idea, be something really radical, and it's actually might happen. Warriors owner, if you notice, since this broke, admonished, no one's backing up Draymond on that team. After Poole, he almost killed the young guy that they just signed to a contract to be the next wave of Curry and Thompson. I mean, Poole is like the next guy who's gonna
fill that role.
Forever. Curry and Thompson, they got no love for Draymond. Watch if they steamroll the Kings tonight. They could maybe deactivate Draymond for the rest of the series. Watch, I'm telling you, they might.
Is that a promise?
You think they're worried? You think they're crying for him to come back? I'm saying,
not if they play well and win.
Things.
Yeah, if they play good without him tonight, he won't come back. Right. I agree with Adam on that one.
That's what I'm saying, Lou. We've seen crazier things. I mean, we're not talking about a new kid on the block. The Warriors know how to win rings. The Warriors know how to win rings. They'll just say, oh, yeah, they'll quietly just deactivate him the rest of the series. Yeah, Draymond's going to be lucky if he suits
or loudly. Mm-hmm. I don't think it'll be all that quiet either.
Draymond? No.
Yeah, I mean,
no,
they don't owe Draymond anything.
Nobody does. I mean, and that's the thing. That's the thing about it is that, I mean, and like I said, Draymond, he was a great player. He was hard-nosed. He played with an edge. And, he was an integral part of 3 championship teams. And yet, now, here we are 10 years later, and he's getting long in the tooth. He's worn out his welcome in Oakland or San Francisco. And he's become a liability, and you can't be a liability. You can be a lot of things, but you can't be a liability.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Especially being that you said he's a liability, and if he keeps doing that's the whole thing too. I think opposing teams know all you got to do is just scratch him just a little bit. He's going to go off. He's going to get ejected. We're going to get fouls. We're going to get free throws. And he doesn't give a rat's ass because he's Draymond. He doesn't care.
Rat's ass too.
So, yeah, there you go.
Well,
it comes to fruition that, maybe it is time for him to leave San Francisco and get, if anyone else wants to take on that liability, somewhere else.
Good luck.
And somebody, a Charlotte,
Orlando. Somebody
will be.
I got one city. I got one city right now. Two
Name it.
syllables. Kind of a rough Motor City, Midwest, Detroit, Michigan State. Draymond always goes, "Oh yeah, I'll go back there and help lead their. I'll help lead them get good again." That's the one place I might take him. If I'm the Knicks,
we asked him.
If I'm the Lakers, other teams want him. No one wants Draymond.
No.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Because Draymond is a okay. Let me. If you're saying no championship caliber team, yeah, no championship caliber team wants Draymond. The Knicks, the Nets, the Suns, none of those teams want it. But a team that isn't.
Let me take that back. Some teams would take him on a good deal. I digress. Some teams will take him on a cap friendly deal, like a 1 or 2 year deal. You're right, Adam.
No, I could see him ending up in a Charlotte on a 4-year, $84 million deal because Charlotte's desperate. The Bobcats are desperate for a star, and that's what Draymond is. No, listen. They need a draw, and Draymond is a name. He's well known. He's a big name, and he will put butts in seats, and we've seen this in every league for years. Cast-offs, over the hill guys who we know,
True.
Who the rest of us are going,
True.
they're done, and somebody comes along and throws a big contract at them, more money than they can say no to. And they sign the deal because a Charlotte or a New Orleans are desperate for a star, somebody that can draw.
Oh yeah. They'll be printing out the Draymond Greens overnight, the jerseys, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
And they'll sell jerseys, they'll sell tickets, and and Draymond will play another 4 years in a Charlotte. Or, New Orleans, in Orlando, like Brad was saying, Orlando could be in the mix. A team that's desperate for a star, desperate for a name, somebody that they can use because they know they're not any good and they're not close to being good.
Oh,
a team that's desperate for a face is gonna put up big money for him because they're gonna want that draw.
Even if he's a jerk.
Now he could even fit. I'm on this Orlando, my Florida thing because I've been out here for 2 months. I feel like DeSantis' son. I'm like Florida's steps adopted over here. No, but I mean Orlando. I love hoops. I know these rosters. Orlando, though, Adam, Pal Banchero, Franz Wagner, Suggs, Fultz. Orlando has 5 or 6 really awesome young players. Wendell Carter. Now, he would be good on Orlando for 1 or 2 years. Orlando's a playoff team. They need 1 or 2 veterans. Bradley, come on. The Magic are very talented team.
I've never been to a live NBA game.
Like 1 or 2 years. Oh, shit. Damn it. Okay, well, I came with the right intent. I was getting the Florida, all the energy. Okay. But no, I mean, Adam, playoff team, you're right. I mean, maybe a 1 year deal, but like you said, some random desperate team for attendance and ratings and numbers will throw money at Draymond. He's not going to go homeless. You're right.
No, he won't. If he wants to play, he'll play somewhere.
Yeah.
He'll play for some god awful team like the Timberwolves or Orlando or Houston. Houston could be in the mix. OKC could be in the mix. Some of these really shitty franchises that are in desperation mode for a face, for a name. He'll get a good contract, He'll play 3 to 5 more years, and maybe he only gets a 2-year deal in OKC, and he'll play 2 years in OKC. He'll play 2 years in Charlotte, and retire and take sign a 1-day contract with the Warriors to retire a Warrior.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna wake up next month, obsessing over Draymond. We got to put it soon, but I mean, overall, Draymond got very lucky. Think about this: Golden State has like the most talented, Curry, Thompson, Steve Kerr. These guys running. They needed a guy who was kind of quick, who could pass the ball. Draymond he's a very good passer. I mean, he went into the best system possible in the last 30 years of any franchise that he could have ever gone in, which makes it all the more sad. He's desecrating, he's disrespecting where he is. So he'll never have it this good again. Golden State is much of the reason why Draymond became more than just a bench player on the Hornets. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I 100%
ended up.
He was the missing piece. I 100% agree. Because he was a great rebounder, played great defense. He matched. He was a tough matchup. He could dish. Perfect. He could draw a double. If they're trying to double, if Clay and Steph Clay and Steph are playing out on the wings, he could be the low post man. If they try to double. If they double Thompson or they double Steph, he's open underneath, and they dish it down to him, and he plays up the 2 and back on defense. I mean, he was an integral. And we said this several times. He was an integral part on their integral part of their first 2 championship teams. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the flip side, he's got a record. He's got a record. I mean, coming from their perspective, Draymond almost people view is going to be an NBA player. I mean, he could be, selling insurance. I love insurance. Damn lucky ended up on Golden State. That's the best possible system and franchise and coaching staff and teammates he could have ever dreamed for. So it's just all the more sad that now he's just, at the end of this, it's just like, I don't know. He has no respect for anything. He's not going to be anywhere clever on any other team. And he thinks he's like a Hall of Famer. I mean, whatever. Ego, it's a danger. Ego's a dangerous thing. He used to be blue collar. Now he's ego. It's not paying off.
Well, you could have overlooked, he's had a couple of incidents that you could overlook, But the Jordan Poole thing and this latest thing, I think he was a borderline Hall of Famer. He's got 4 rings, perennial All-Star. I mean, he was integral. He was an integral part to the pseudo dynasty that the Warriors had for the last 10 years. I mean, he's a borderline, in my opinion. I wouldn't say first ballot. But I'd say definitely third ballot. Second ballot, third ballot, Hall of Famer. The dude put up numbers.
Yeah,
he was a great defender.
He's our generation's. He's our generation's Dennis Rodman. He's the random rebounder.
Had to go there.
He's the Rodman of this era. Love him or hate him. I know. Well, Rodman's a Hall of Famer.
He was early in his run with Golden State. He was compared to Rodman. He was tall and lanky, and he could rebound. He could pass. He was a great facilitator, great setup man. He could work underneath. Because you got to take away Steph and Clay, so Draymond and Iguodala are going to be open. And he can knock down shots.
Mm-hmm.
He was a double every night.
Right.
He would say 15, 10, and 5.
I'm going to make a declaration because I'm going to I never want to fear being risk being known as the some Draymond guy. Move off Draymond. Let's put that to bed. Adam, you had great points. I mean, I think the Warriors are going to win without him. I think they're going to win without him. I mean, yeah, it's just like that type of guy drives me nuts.
Be surprised.
Yeah, he doesn't know good he had it, and that's it. Do what they do without him.
Yeah.
With that, guys, do you want to close the show out? Anybody want to promote their shows before we get off here?
All right. Assuming I survive the rest of the week, the Enhanced Sports Show should be on Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, God willing. We'll discuss the NBA and NHL playoffs, which is a doozy right now. And if you're a Devils fan, I'm not saying nothing. Okay, so we'll also cover the last of the regular season of the XFL and also of the USFL. Like I was going to say out loud, people? Yeah, right. We'll talk with MLB for some PGA golf because I have some listeners who do like the sport of golf. You're not alone, Bradley. Even though you thought you were, but you're not. So if I go with anything with any WWE or UFC news, I'll bring that along. I can't guarantee it, but I'll do my best. And we'll also have, of course, the ridiculous iron of the week because I got one. I have an inspiring feel-good story of the week. If you saw some of my posts, you might know what I'm talking about. We'll also have, of course, This Week in History as well. So if you got time, 4 to 6 in the East, 3 to 5 where Gerald is, 12 o'clock in Europe or whatever, give a call. Hey, I reach everybody. So, come on. So 512, oh boy, 512-543-4662. On that note, I'm out of here. Good night. See you on draft night.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
draft night.
Yeah, go ahead, Gerald.
Now,
Hey,
I was
Brad.
just saying later to Lou.
Let me
Say
close it out real quick, guys. I want to thank Jeff Barnes. He will be back, guys, the week after next. And yes, by the way, the show did record to Facebook and to YouTube, so no technical difficulties this week. But I want to thank everyone that tuned in. Thank these 4 gentlemen that make this show fun every week. Thank you guys so much. Thank to the men and women of our armed services and our first responders. Thank you for doing what you do. We couldn't be here without you. Guys, next week, we're off the scripts. It's a fun show. We're going to interact with the draft. Hopefully we can stay awake the whole first round because a few years ago, I think we all fell asleep during the first
No
round.
comment.
Hey, he brought up the Rooney Rule show last week, so I'm bringing that up this week.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway,
That's only fair. That's only fair.
I will see these guys next week.
I'm gonna be ready.
Until then,
Coffee ready. I need it,
Gerald,
folks.
stay safe with the storms. Anyone in the line of those storms in
Oh, yeah,
Texas and Arkansas, please stay safe in the Southeast. Until then, guys, we all love you. Thank you again so much for joining us. I am the sports director, Bradley Walker. We are sponsored by Creating Zen Spaces, Garrett's Carrots, and Funwags.com. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week on draft night. Until then, peace.
Cut, print, send it.
Maybe I'll get drafted.